Hey y'all, welcome to part two of our conversation with our amazing speaker on the Do the Change podcast. We're going to hop right back into the conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spotify page, and follow us on Instagram at Do the Change Podcast. Okay, my last, I guess, well, it's not my last question, but before I shift topics, it's my last question. But what are your goals post grad? Because you're finishing your second year right now. And have you started that job search, considering that you said like you do need to start early? Have you started like, I don't know, like kind of touching base on that, but or just in general, what are your goals like post grad?
Post grad, I am still deciding if I'm gonna stay for a PhD or not. But if it
Go to
goes
the
that
Midwest.
yes, if it goes that route, I'll be reapplying in a few months. If I decide that I'm cool where I'm
Okay.
at right now, I'll start applying for jobs probably in August. That's what I've heard because you can't really have a company hold the spot too long. So I was thinking probably 6 months out at the max, but I would start to at least search by August of who to probably apply to. So
Okay.
yeah. But my
Okay.
overall goal is to either be an EHS specialist or an EHS engineer, and then work my way up to a EHS manager, and then finally like just get to the like top. So I just want to be the best in my field, honestly. I want to make sure
Okay.
everyone is safe, not having problems at work, fixing everything that deals with MSD, toxicology type stuff, anything that helps out with the whole workers.
Okay. Well, I see a director in our future in a couple years, so I'm here for that. Okay, so now we are going to do a topic shift. It is now tea time with Tyra. I love this segment. I don't have my tea today, but it's okay because it's here. So the first question is, as you know, the field of OEHS is it's not as diverse as it could be. Even within the ergo program at Cal, I'll air it out a little bit. There's not that many students of color. I feel like I actually know all the students of color, which is problematic, but it's okay. So I'm just wondering how that lack of representation in the field has impacted you just as a person and just kind of walking in those spaces. And also, like, what is your input on, like, why do you think that that's happening just in general?
So me personally, when I see a POC in in our whole spaces, it's like great because even being at the school, there are not a lot.
Yes.
I like seeing it. I think the biggest issue with this thing is most POCs do not know about it because me personally, I didn't know about ergonomics or EHS until I looked up jobs in biomechanics, which I didn't know about biomechanics until I met my mentor in undergrad, which I honestly didn't know about my undergrad whole major until I switched over because I was a biology whole major at first, then I switched to kinesiology. So like then
Mhm.
that's how that works. So like I think the biggest problem is most people do not know about this. And I
Yeah.
think if we start making spaces to talk about this to high schoolers, then it's a higher chance of there being an increase in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're spot on with that because it's like I didn't even know what economics was until I came here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then
Exactly.
and then yeah, and then I was like, what? This is really cool. And like I even had to tell my sister, she's doing civil engineering right now, and all she talks about is like, oh, like I want to like she was like, I want to make things better. Like there are better ways to make chairs to help people. There are like better ways to like make things so that people like don't experience pain. And then later on, when I found out about ergonomics, I'm like, Jasmine, you want to do ergonomics? You don't want to be a civil engineer, which is cool, but it's like that's not it for her. So I
Yeah.
think you're totally right that if we knew, then it'd be so much easier, spend a lot less time, maybe not going the best path. I mean, she can move to ergo pretty easily because it's like the same-ish field, but um, yeah, I think you're spot on with that. And I want to follow up with, are there any barriers outside of lack of knowledge of the field in regards to not being a lot of like POC students or underserved students like in the field?
I think honestly, so from what I've seen, most of the time, If it's not due to not knowing, it's you have to have a college degree to even have an internship. And again, like places will
Oh,
take
okay.
out a degree, but you have to actually show reference that I've actually done this, which usually is internship. So
Right.
in a long stretch, even having the chance to like go to college can be a barrier, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like yeah. I didn't know that. That's really, I don't want to say it's stupid because I don't want to discredit that, but it's also, it's like a barrier where it's just like there are great people who don't have college degrees, but
Mhm,
just because of that, you get blocked from even having that
exactly.
opportunity. Um, okay. So now for my next question. In your opinion, what are some systemic barriers that individuals from underrepresented racial, well, you kind of talked about this actually, like one systemic barrier is just access to education. So I guess I'll just start with the follow-up question, which is how many or how can organizations and industries work towards kind of addressing and getting rid of these barriers and promoting like greater inclusivity into the field?
Okay, so something that my current company does, which I thought was amazing, not to, pat them on the back too much, but I was shocked about this, is they actually have a DIB scholarship specifically for PLCs, and they're giving, I think, 10 of the interns this summer a $10,000 scholarship to go back to school after they're done here. So they're clearly addressing the like problem of even paying for like school,
Right.
uh, which is a
Yeah.
big barrier for a whole bunch of people, because I actually had a friend at my old school. He wasn't PLC, but he had a problem where he got into the program and he got halfway through, but since he was out of state fees, he it was just too much for him. So he had to drop the whole program, even though he was halfway done, which is
Yeah.
sad because again, he was halfway done.
Right. Yeah. That's really cool that your job is doing that because sometimes it's like even Berkeley was expensive to apply to. And I can't imagine if it's
Yes,
like
Berkeley is very expensive to apply
it's
to.
it's very expensive to apply to, get here, and then stay here. Like, let's be real, the Bay Area is so
It's
expensive.
expensive, yes.
It's so expensive. So that $10,000 probably it. I know it makes like a huge difference of like, okay, now I can afford to apply to schools, and like that just gives people so much freedom with like what to do. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. Oh, I mean, shout out to I can't say the name, but you know who I'm
Momentum.
talking. Thank you, Lumentum. Shout out to Lumentum. Okay, so last question in this tea time. Are there any mentorship programs or professional organizations that you would recommend for young folks in the field who come from diverse backgrounds, or any you have heard of, or any organizations or groups you're a part of?
Yes. So when I was in biomechanics, I'm still
Yeah,
a biomechanist, but when I was, back then, there was this
yeah,
group called Black Biomechanists, and it includes not only biomechanics people, but human factors people, which human factors grows with like ergo.
yeah.
So I heard about that. Um, as far as in the ergonomics world and EHS, I haven't heard a lot, but I will say this: as far as mentorships, I'm a big person who's like the worst they'll say is no. So something I personally do is if I see, or if there is a way for me to talk to a PLC who's in EHS, who has the same job as me, and I see them on LinkedIn, I'm just gonna add them, obviously, and then be like, hey, not trying to be weird, but um, we're both PLCs, and I just thought it was great to like see you also, so that's why I'm adding you. And then from what I've seen, most of the time people are nice. I will say this: I actually met someone at Apple who added me on LinkedIn the exact same way. I just was like, hey, not trying to be, weird or anything, but I admire, your like job, whatever. And I just, would like to know more. So most people will like answer and like say thank you for that. And most of them think, hey, you took the extra mile to actually say something to me. So I'll help you out. So
Uh,
my advice is just ask, say something, and you will probably hear something back.
Yeah, that's good advice. The worst they can say is no.
That
And
is
if you
that is what's got me a lot, honestly.
and it's like if you don't ask, it's definitely a no,
Exactly.
And it's like the same amount of time is gonna pass by between you sending the message and you not
And
sending the
not.
message.
So the worst they can say is no.
Right. Yeah. That's like a life model. Worst they can say is no, and then move on. Um, okay, so we are coming to the end of this amazing conversation with Brandon. So first I want to thank you for just being here, being open, honest, and also just giving some just straight advice, just clear advice. Um, before we end, I want to end with some questions about self-care and then also leave any space if you want to add any closing thoughts or more advice for upcoming leaders, stuff like that. Okay, so first question is, what is your self-care routine and what do you do to decompress just after work or whatever?
You know me for the past year, so you know I rarely depressed.
I know. It's just food for thoughts.
But when I do decompress, I usually hang out with friends or I go for a walk, honestly. If I'm really just stressed out, I like to go for a run.
Okay.
As far as self-care, something that I highly recommend is, and I know it's hard to do this in college, but I have a strict rule. After 12 o'clock, I don't care. Whatever is due at 12 o'clock, I don't care. Go to sleep. You can do it in the morning. I strongly recommend that because
Yeah.
you staying up past 12 isn't going to help you out. So that is one piece of advice I will say. After 12 o'clock, do not care.
That is so real because I'm the same my marker is a little bit earlier, maybe because I know I get a little woozy after 10 p.m. 10 p.m. is my marker where I'm like, it's like I'm a morning person, so it's a done deal. Like if I start getting sleepy, start kind of wobbling, I'm going to bed. But that's hilarious. After 12, I don't care. Sorry.
And you will wake up, have a clear mind. So
Right.
as far as quotes, my top
Yeah.
one is the worst they can say is no. And I strongly live by that because everything I've done, I like thought about it, said, you know what, maybe I shouldn't, but then as you said, even if you don't do it, time will like pass still. So
Right.
send that message, ask that person, do whatever you have to do.
Okay. Well, I again want to thank you for coming onto our podcast. And I want to thank you all for tuning in.
I
And
enjoyed being
yeah.
here.
Huh?
You're a great host, Tyra. I enjoyed
Thank
being
you.
here.
I appreciate it. All right, guys. So stay tuned.